Hey guys, it's been a while since I posted a video, but I am in the middle of doing a job that I haven't been able to find a lot of videos online for, mainly just forum help, but I'm a visual learner, as I'm sure some of you are too. So I figured I'd make a video about how I'm going to do this radiator swap, basically just going from a stock system to a Koyorad. And lots of people have been telling me that that is kind of a must. In my case, my car was overheating. I bought it in Grand Rapids, Michigan, drove it back when it was super cold, so it hid a lot of those issues. But now that it's here, it's springtime, stuff is starting to go wrong. So
I guess old Mazda's still giving him a lesson or two.
So I figured I'd make a video of replacing my stock radiator with a Koyorad, which is a really popular modification. I didn't really see any other videos online showing a good how-to, so this isn't going to be a super spick and span how-to video, but regardless, it should maybe give you a better idea of how to do it. So to start removing it, I was missing a few bolts, but you should only have 2 bolts on either side holding in your radiator, and then your fan mounting, or your fan shroud, which is on my trash can, has a few various bolts. Yours might be missing some, which isn't a big deal. They're super straightforward. One on the very, very bottom, one on the very, very top, and then a couple on the sides. So I popped that out, and my hoses were very, very bad. Even so much so to where the one that I believe is for the heater core, the clamps were completely rusted shut and wouldn't move for me, so I had to snip it. So I'll be getting a new hose, new clamps after I figure out how to get it off of the other side without, breaking a whole bunch of stuff, because you can see I had to just chop it off right here. So anywho, all in all, the most important thing I would say is keep your stock radiator mounting brackets, because those will have to go on that, otherwise it won't work and you'll have to pay God knows how much to get new ones. So in addition to all the radiator business that I'm doing, I'm also going to go ahead and replace my water pump. I've already replaced my thermostat, which lives inside here. Make sure you hang on to the gasket. I got a new radiator cap over here, and unlike the stock radiator, the Koyorad has another spot for a cap. So I'm not really sure if this goes to a secondary overflow tank that I have to create, or if I can delete the other one and that little pressure module. I'm not entirely sure. So when I figure that out, I will, let you guys know. But for the most part, it should be pretty simple. Everything's out. I just need to pop off my bimetal clutch fan, my cert belts, pull the water pump, and yeah. Another good thing to note is that if you have an old system like this, flush out at least your block. I mean, in my case, I'm just ripping out the old radiator, so I didn't do a flush there. But a lot of people recommend you to flush both your heater core and your block, which there's no good spot for me to show you, but on this side, so for USDM and be driver's side, down at the bottom of the block, near the pan, actually there's a bolt that you can take out, and that'll drain all the coolant from the block. So that's an absolute must if you're going through and doing this. And you should replace your coolant, I wouldn't say fairly frequently, but I mean, especially if you're having cooling issues, it's just a good idea too. And if you've ever overheated your car, do your oil. Change your oil, because you don't know what it's gonna do after it's gotten super hot. So just to be sure. Perfect area that you can see it. It is that guy right there. I assume this to be the motor mount or something, but yeah, that guy right there. That's the one that you need to remove. That's your engine coolant drain plug. So when you're flushing the system, it's fairly essential that you get to that. I haven't decided how I'm gonna tackle this yet, whether it be from top side or bottom side. But as soon as I do, I will make another little clip. Well, that actually wasn't too terribly bad. So this is your engine coolant drain plug. It looks like it might have an external washer on it. It doesn't look like it's a crush washer or anything like that. So what worked best for me, I've got an absolute mess of tools, but was a 3/8 inch drive, 14 millimeter. And basically I just, you know, you can still hear it draining right now actually. Let me see if I can, yeah, so it's draining out from right there. It's kind of making a mess. But I just, I reached my hand down in between these, right by your spark plugs, and just pulled up on it, one solid tug like that. It must not have a very high torque spec from factory, because compared to most other bolts on my car, this was actually very, very easy. It took like one simple tug, and yeah, remember how I said you should wear gloves? Yeah, I'm busting the hell out of my hands. So, wear gloves, 14 mil, and that'll pop out. It's, yeah, it's about done draining. So I will clean this up a little bit. So just put this back in, and then after I get my hose, it'll go right there, and I'm able to put all that chunk back in there. I'll fill it up with distilled water and that yellow bottle, a little bit of that Prestone, you know, coolant flush additive, and then we'll top her off, let it run. Of course, after I do my water pump and all that shit, but in general, you know, new stuff in, distilled water, coolant additive, operating temp, and then shut it off, drain it from both. And then just do that process over and over and over until it looks clear. Alrighty, so one more thing you might experience on swapping over these mounting brackets off of your stock system. Chances are you might be fighting some rust, like I am. And so basically, it's held in with a real simple nut and bolt style. Let me see if I can get a good, so, okay, pardon that crappy foam. So this nut, which is 12 millimeters, by the way, slips into this little plastic housing that is supposed to, you know, prevent it from spinning so that you can actually take out the nut, which is also 12 millimeters. But on this side, as you can see, there is no plastic bit. I actually had to, I'm trying to find the chunks to it, I actually had to break off those chunks, which you can do with just like a sturdy flathead and a hammer. I used just a ball peen hammer and a flathead, and I just busted that out of there so that I could get a 12 millimeter crescent over the tip of it to hold it long enough for me to crack it loose. So just one little trick for getting these off. If that bolt is spinning and it's just not working out, you know, that may be common sense for some people, but for other people, you know, they may be like, fuck, I don't know what to do. So that is what I did. Took about, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Super easy. Alrighty, so it's the next morning now. I got my side rails painted for that. Got a new pressure cap with a low release on it. So to do this water pump, it turned out being a little bit more work than I expected. I had to take off the harmonic balancer, or at least that pulley, the crank pulley I should say, but there is no real crank. So I had to pop that off with a wheel puller and left with those bits and then this kind of floating washer portion. And I had to do all that because this is the gasket to the I guess block. It's the housing to engine gasket. So I had to take that off, and that's the back side of it here, back side of the air pump. I may delete that at some point, but I've heard mixed results about doing that, between just a terrible smell, I guess, and I think even a buildup of carbon in your catalytic converters. So I cleaned this out with brake clean, been scuffing up this gasket surface. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, jeez. This was a pain in the ass, I'm not gonna lie.
I guess old Mazda's still giving him a lesson or two.
But OMP right here, I had to pull that off, and this actually lives behind the housing. So I had to disconnect this linkage that goes through up here. I had to disconnect that so that I could bring it out and weasel my way around it. Unfortunately, my shaft fell out into my bucket of terrible looking coolant, so I gotta fish that out. But yeah, we're close. We're basically just have to reassemble at this point. So I'll be putting everything back in, and then I guess I'll have an update from there. This is the old water pump. Pretty disgusting. Maybe even concerning, I'm not sure.
16 paranoia-filled days later.
Just want to come back and I guess wrap this whole thing up. I never really finished it. So you can see here how the stock brackets go onto the Koyorad, and this is hardware that they supply with the kits. So everything else was really simple. I have one of those kind of crappy T fitting adapters for a water temp gauge that I'll show that's on the inside, but basically I didn't need to use this bung. I believe this is for a sensor, but I already had that other bit, so I didn't really care about it. Believe this is the recirc of some sort, maybe even over here to this little pressure guy, but I believe this is like a secondary overflow or something like that. But I've been running it for a while capped like this and no issues, so everything is right as rain. There was a lot of scaling buildup whenever I flushed this whole system out, but yeah, it's been running at like 160, 170-ish, and then heavy traffic it can get up to like 195 or so, but excuse me. Anywho, the car overall, since I started doing those videos, so I've got this steering wheel that I will actually be selling, which I'm pretty excited about. It's a collaboration with Grip Royal, but yeah, the interior is pretty nice. It's super well put together. I'll start the car up too because I actually got new exhaust.
So get rid of the daily habit.
Hush. That is so loud. Okay, here we go. So, this is that gauge I was talking about too. It's glow shift gauge. Sorry, it's a little bit loud. Okay, well, yeah. So, I guess that kind of wraps up the video though. So, hope you learned something. Hope I was helpful in some way. So, see ya.
I guess old Mazda's still giving him a lesson or two.